Okay, um, we're going to cover the Mokole this time. I've been putting off covering some of the other ones, but I'm going to cover Mokole. Now, first off, I'm going to come out with the disclaimer. I do not think that a Mokole should ever be a PC. I think it's a mistake. I think in that regard they are overpowered towards PC play, and I think that they're not designed to be base characters. They're not designed to be new characters. They're not designed to be weak. They are designed to be fixtures. They're kind of like mummies used to be before they came out with the Gold Book. When there were a limited number of mummies in the world and they were all extremely powerful. I think the Mokole that exists should be powerful. There are parts of them, there are aspects of them that make them deadly as hell because there's a reason they can stand toe-to-toe with the Gru for the most part. But I'm still going to cover it because inevitably there's going to be games out there, or maybe event games or such like that, where a player is going to be called upon to play one and possibly design one. I still think that they should always be storyteller controlled, and I don't think that they should ever take a long-term starring role. They should be kind of like guest stars, like during Sweeps Week. And they should be more about the story. Okay, but to get on with it, the Mokole, to their view, were the first shape changers. They were the first ones upon Gaia, when the dinosaurs ruled the earth, and they were functionally the lizard kings. Okay, they are known to be the memory of Gaia because they have, not sure how to pronounce it, but Nessus, Mnesis. It's kind of a shared memory. If I'm playing Mokole, I can remember things that my ancestors knew. I will remember a vampire that my great-great-great-great-grandfather met. I will remember him as if I'd met him. So if I run into him again, I will know him as such. He might not know me personally, but I'll feel like I know him because I have that memory, in there. Well, so you're playing Mokole. Okay. The first thing you're going to be doing is you're really going to be doing is picking your what type of Mokole you're playing. There's really 4 types. You got the Gumigan, which are considered the stream of fire. They are based off the Mokole of Australia, the nasty ass crocodiles down there, and so on. You've got the Makara, which are the stream of the wind. They are the ones that are based off India, the crocodiles that are found there. You have the Mokole Mbembe. These are the American, functionally the American gators and crocodiles and so on. Although it does cover some of the offshoots, which are like the Entebon, which are the African, the Gandasi, which are considered the North American, the Ambalasoke, which are considered the South American. They are all part of the Mokole Mbembe. Then you got the Zhonglun, the stream of water. These are your Asians. They tend to come from like the Indonesian and the Chinese and such gator types. How you play them is going to be dependent upon that. You're going to make them based on that. They have different types of auspices based on certain things. And of course, when you get down to it, they have their version of a Krynos form, which is basically their dinosaur form. Those dinosaur forms are nasty as hell. And if they take the right perks with them, they make your fight with the Nexus Crawler look preferable. They have what they call the mandates of Earth. This is their version of litany. Shirk not the tasks which have been given you. Pretty simple. You're supposed to be the mother's memory, period. So be that. Guard the wheel that it may turn in fullness. Basically, the way they look at it is the ones who are half human, half beast are keepers of balance by their very natures. They must aid the progress of the mother through the age of time, even if it brings death and sorrow. Honor your territory in all things. Kind of obvious. Let mercy guide you in your august mother's court. Basically, avoid killing allies or potential allies. Other awakened creatures are not necessarily protected by this, though. Honor your ancestors and your elders. Honor your pacts with the spirit world. War not upon human or beast. And let no one or nothing violate the sacred nests. This leads to how they treat others. Now, the Koraks, they believe that the Koraks were Mokole, that they're an offshoot that kept their feathers and became something. So they're like cousins. They also believe the Naga were Mokole, that basically lost their limbs and became the guardians. They were offshoots. So that's how great the Mokole were, is that they spawned two of the other Bate. Werewolves. Luckily, a lot of them will judge werewolves on an individual basis, but they're never going to fully trust them, because werewolves came in and tried to kill them and destroy their nest, and they have the long memories. They believe that the werewolves lost their focus and lost their understanding of what their place in Gaia was, and they got too big for their britches, and they don't believe that they've ever changed. And while some say that they're in a constant state of war, it's not true. What it comes down to is the were-gators are overly critical of the werewolves, and if they have the least amount of reason to not trust them or whatever, they'll kill them. It's not that they're at war; it's that it doesn't bother them. In that regard, they become almost as cold and as callous in their killing as the were-sharks. When it comes to others like the Noisha and so on, they don't have much of an opinion. The Garal. They mourn the Garal. Now there's a few left. But the Gators don't see the majority of the Garal that are left, because the majority of the Garal that are left are in the north, in the cold environments. The Gators are not. They do see the occasional brown or black bear, especially like the bears that inundate the Okefenokee Swamp. They will have crossover and so on. But for the most part, there's not many Garal left, and they don't believe, and they mourn them for that, because they were allied in their own way. They taught the bears how to slumber, so basically how to go into hibernation, and the bears taught them various healing gifts. A lot of the others, they really don't have much of an opinion about. The Bastet, they think they've lost their way. The were-rats, they think that they failed in their duty, or they were shitty in it because they were supposed to control the human population, which obviously they did not. And then there's the ones that were lost, which for the most part, they're going to blame the guru for. A lot of people are going to be like, wait, what do you mean the ones that are lost? Well, there's a lot of speculation out there, but there's 3 were types known to have been lost. You got the Gronder, who were the were-boars. They were the cleaners and groomers of Gaia. You had the Apis, which are known as the moon bulls. They were the peaceful matchmakers and sages of the mother cow. Then you had the I can't remember how to pronounce this. The Kamazats. Those were the werebats. They were the messengers of the night. They took up where the Koraks could no longer fly. In a lot of ways, the Koraks covered the north and the Kamatats covered the south, which of course is where there's a lot of Mokole. Mokole are all about their swamps, and they're all about the clutch. They don't have tribes per se. They have clutches. A clutch is kind of like a sept. It's usually based around a wallow. They believe that you have to lay the eggs and you have to protect those eggs. And even further than that, you have to kind of teach the hatchlings coming out what's needed to be known, almost like going through a cubdom. And a lot of times those cubs will stay on, and the clutches will be anywhere from 2 or 3 Mokole and kinfolk to upwards of 30. It all depends on food supply and area that they can roam. But they can be very vicious when defending it. I mean, I'm not going to get too far into it because if you're going to have to play a Mokole, you have to take a different mindset. First off, you have to realize that you probably have a lot more memories and a lot more lore and intelligence in your head than you ever will as a person, as a player. That's difficult to convey. And it takes a special type of gamer to be able to truly convey that in a fashion where people will look at you and understand that you are that sort of intellectual. You have to have a slow way about you because you've got to be that cold. You're a cold-blooded animal. You have to have that mentality about you, and you have to have that way of moving and that way of speaking and portraying stuff. You also have to be kind of close-minded because you always remember. You'll never forget what's been done in the past. You may not know who started the War of Rage because everybody blames somebody else, but you remember some of the actions that occurred during them. You remember that Guru came in and smashed your wallows. Now, while you may not blame this individual Guru over here for something that their ancestors did, you're never going to fully trust them. Because you're going to look at them and you're going to see that memory. And you're going to see that if you can remember what their ancestors did, it is very likely that they have that capability within themselves. That right there makes Mokole non-social. It makes them a character type that is not going to get good interaction in a Guru game. And as I've said before in these coverings, I am mainly focusing on a Guru-oriented chronicle. And how, when I'm talking about changing breeds, is how they would incorporate into it or in relation to it. And Mokole would not be something that could incorporate well. My personal chronicle is based on the Okefenokee Swamp, so we do have gators, we do have Mokole. They're not allies. There's not a whole lot of interaction. If anything, they are tenuous neighbors. Functionally, at this point, the Mokole aren't coming down and killing the Guru in their territory. The Guru are avoiding their territory, like the plague. The only ones who don't tend to avoid Mokole territory are the lupus, and the only reason that they're allowed to go through it is because they don't upset the balance. They're not there gathering intelligence on the Mokole. They're not there hunting the Mokole. I mean, hell, they'll go if they're drinking from the water and the Mokole is swimming up or a gator is swimming up. A wolf tends to back off because they recognize a predator that is stronger in its natural environment than the wolf will be in that environment. On the same token, if a gator was to come out on the land, well, that might be a different story because wolves tend to hunt in packs. So you tend to get that. But if you get the humans or the Hamids coming into Mokole territory, there's going to be a problem because they're going to wonder why. And Mokole, they are not the innocent till proven guilty type. They're kind of a shoot first, or in this case, bite first, and ask questions later if there's anything left to ask. So I don't know what else I can really say about Mokole. I'm not going to get into details on the little intricacies you have to do with them, how you play their gifts, because frankly, I think there needs to be a mystery about them. I think there needs to be that uniqueness about them so that when they walk into a chronicle, preferably played by a storyteller or a member of staff, that they're only going to be there a brief time, but the impact that they're going to leave is going to be indelible. That there are going to be ripples flowing out from that impact that they made. So storytellers who decide to add them to their campaign, just your best bet is don't give them to players, because a player is going to always develop their own agenda. You want them to come in, and they're either going to be the focal point of a story, or they are going to be the greatest story point, hook, or plot device, or the hook that drags the players back on track, whatever it may be. That's how powerful they can be. If they don't go in that direction, they can end up being some of the nastiest antagonists you've ever seen. My game, I anticipate there's going to come a time when the Guru and the Growler, or the Guru and the Mokole, are going to go to war again. It's going to be bloody when it happens. And I am not handing Mokole to players. So that's my view on Mokole. I mean, I hope it helped a little bit, and I hope it helps you realize that they really should not be player character type stuff. They should not be something like that. They should be a strict NPC type scenario. They can be made to be antagonists. If they're protagonists, it doesn't tend to last long like that, and so on. And now I feel like I'm ranting a little bit, or whatever. So I'm going to wrap this one up, and have a good one, guys.